G'day from sunny Western Australia. In this video I'm going to tell you what I thought were the highs and lows of my year shooting F1. There were 23 races scheduled, we only had 22, and there's plenty to talk about. So if you're ready, let's get stuck in. Oh, I got to do this first. Let's kick it off with Max Verstappen. What can you say about him? He's just incredible. So many records set this year. Such sublime driving. He really was untouched this year. Brilliant. Only driver ever to lead 1,000 laps in a season. It's a given. He was the class act of 2023. Tell you who did very well this year, and you probably know Oscar Piastri. In his rookie season, he shone. Mark Webber's decision to take him from Alpine to McLaren was an astute one. And being there to witness his first win, the sprint race in Qatar, was a joy. His second in Qatar and third in Japan were also memorable. And remember too, he had to sit out all of 2022, but he was strong enough to push Lando at many races, and Lando is no slouch. He ended up 9th in the championship, and I expect to hear the Australian national anthem at some point in 2024 for Oscar. Maybe also for Daniel, who knows. Speaking of Daniel, he made his return to Formula One, replacing Nick de Vries in Budapest. He left McLaren shattered, and many thought that he was done. But remarkably, he was recalled by AlphaTauri to drive alongside Yuki Tsunoda. But as quick as he returned, he was out with that broken left hand in Zandvoort in what looked to be an innocuous crash during one of the practice sessions. That sidelined him for 5 races. Daniel's bad luck was Liam Lawson's good luck, and it was immensely good luck for Liam. He got to drive 5 races in the AlphaTauri, and he too did very well. His best result saw him pick up 2 championship points for the team in Singapore, and while he had to step back when Daniel returned in Austin, I don't think there's any doubt that he did enough to get himself a drive come 2025. Certainly the sign print collaboration I did with him was a big success. I think we've only got maybe half a dozen of the 50 left. You can get online at kimellman.com if you want to put your name down for one of those. How about Williams? A marked turnaround under James Vowles, with the team going from 10th to 7th, and impressive was Alex Albon. He's such a lovely fella, Alex, really good-natured. He out-qualified his teammate, Logan Sargeant, in every one of the 22 races. But that said, Logan Sargeant did pick up his first point in F1. That was at the Austin race, and too bad he didn't realise it until he was on a charter flight home after that race, and he was told that Lewis and Charles both had been disqualified. That elevated him to 10th. Other noticeable results, I think you'd have to put Esteban Ocon's 3rd in Monaco down. If you're going to pick one race to be on the podium, a lot of guys would be picking Monaco. It's such an amazing venue. I love shooting there. It's just a joy. And on the subject of Alpine drivers, his teammate, Pierre Gasly, picked up a meritable 3rd at the Dutch Grand Prix. We saw a reinvigorated Fernando Alonso after his move to Aston Martin, and with 6 podiums after just 8 races, he was looking good for a super year, but the car's performance unfortunately let him down towards the latter part of the year. Still good enough, though, to finish 4th in the championship. Other moments for me throughout the year, and there were a number of them, probably Fernando Alonso and Sergio Perez coming to the line Brazil just meters apart. That was pretty darn exciting, and I was thankful to be on the pit wall there on the photo tower, enabled me to get this shot, and this was my best sign print of the year with Fernando Alonso. These sold out in 4 hours. My previous best was this picture of Toto Wolff, which we did earlier in the year, and they sold out in 30 hours. Going back to Pierre Gasly, we saw him wearing a wrestling mask at the Mexican Grand Prix. Lando Norris, he was dressed in traditional Arabian dress at Abu Dhabi. Valtteri Bottas in traditional Australian dress in Melbourne. The Ferrari drivers stood out too, wearing cowboy hats and fake moustaches in Austin. And of course, Lewis Hamilton continued to dazzle us day in and day out with an amazing array of fashionable outfits that tend to polarise many of you on social media. This year, Lance Stroll introduced us to his new girlfriend, fashion model Mary Lou Boulanger in Austin. Charles Leclerc introduced us to Alexandra in Monaco, the same race that I first met Carlos Sainz's new girlfriend, Rebecca Donaldson. Mick Schumacher brought his new model girlfriend, Leila Hasanovic, to the Dutch GP, but we had to wait until the very last day of Formula One, that was post-season testing, for us to meet Esteban Ocon's new girlfriend. This is Flavie Bala. And before you start saying, hang on, is that another model? Well, she's actually a medical student. Lewis wasn't the only snappy dresser in the paddock. We had great outfits seen this year from Daniel Ricciardo, George Russell, Nico Hülkenberg, and Zhou Guanyu, who tends to give Lewis a bit of a run for his money, but he's not quite as out there in his fashion sense. Other highlights for me. Jerry Halliwell giving Toto Wolff a very healthy slap on the arse after the events of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, when everyone's quite relaxed. Her husband Christian put a smile on his face, I can promise you. It was lovely to see this man back at a track. Sebastian Vettel turned up at the Japanese Grand Prix to promote insect hides, which were positioned at the first corner. And by his side was his longtime PR agent and manager, Britta Ruska. Funny moments, a couple involving Lando Norris, where he grabbed Charles Leclerc over the shoulder here and dragged his attention back to him in, Monza? And on the receiving end of a George Russell prank when he was coming back from the drivers' parade at Mexico City, when George came up behind him and just shoved his phone in his face and said, "Photo, photo!" And I happened to be there at the right moment, so I was happy to capture this action sequence. I realised this year that many of the F2 drivers and the F1 reserve drivers have very strong followings on social media. Among some of my biggest posts this year were the likes of Oliver Bearman, Marcus Armstrong, who's actually an IndyCar driver, Felipe Drugovich, Jack Doohan, and young Franco Colapinto from Argentina. You may remember at the start of the year, I managed to convince Lando Norris to agree to be measured, because there'd been much speculation about his height. It turned out to be a sensational video on my YouTube channel, certainly made a lot of people laugh, and one of my YouTube followers even ended up with the tape measure we used for that video, signed by Lando himself. And you'll find a link in the description below to see that video. We had mega movie star Brad Pitt with us on a number of days, filming his new F1 movie, and then the actors' strike slowed things down. But he was back in Las Vegas as Stefano Domenicali's guest for that race, and the sport is definitely looking forward to that movie coming out. If it's as good as what we think it is, it could well add millions more fans to the following. On the subject of celebrities, we had a mega year of celebrities at the track. The most popular on my Insta account were the likes of Jeremy Clarkson, Joe Jonas, Gordon Ramsay, and Neymar, who rolled up in Spain to catch up with a number of drivers, including Lewis Hamilton. During the year, I decided to run some posts to see who was the most popular garage member, and after leading early with Alessandro from Ferrari, it was very clear that apart from Callum Nicholas from Red Bull, no one got anywhere near him, so in the end I just had to give up. So Alessandro is definitely the most popular garage member, and a pretty cool dude to boot. Most popular trainer? Well, once again, that was a Ferrari team member too, in Andrea Ferrari, who trains Charles Leclerc. What were the three biggest races of the year? Well, in order of crowds, British GP, 480,000 people. That's over the 4 days of the event. Followed by Australia with just over 444,000. And then Austin, 432,000. And what is the event to go to if you don't like crowds? It's Bahrain. Just 98,000 attended that event. Of the 22 races, 21 were won by Red Bull drivers. And the one that wasn't was the Singapore Grand Prix with Carlos Sainz having a rare win this season. And certainly everybody is hoping, well, Red Bull fans aren't hoping, but everybody else is hoping that things will be a bit more competitive in 2024. Hats off to the McLaren pit crew, who set a world record of 1.8 seconds to change all 4 tyres on a Formula One car. That was in Qatar. So now let's get to some of the lows of the season. I'm going to go to Qatar straight away because that race was terrible for the heat. For the drivers, for the spectators, for us working in it, a very forgettable event. So hopefully that's sorted out next year, if you're watching this upon release, because that'll be some 6 weeks later, and a little bit cooler, touch wood. Sergio Perez had a couple of negatives this year. His crash in Mexico City, where he got airborne at turn 1, was highly disappointing for the crowd favourite. He would have loved to have been standing on the podium, but this crash certainly put paid to any chance he had. And another disappointment for Sergio, who again was pipped on the line by Charles Leclerc in Las Vegas. On the subject of Las Vegas, it was an amazing night that Thursday when we had the water cover come off. The second session was postponed, and then we finally got underway at 2:30 a.m. Finished at 4 a.m. in front of nobody except marshals and media. That was a surreal thing to be close up and involved in. We said goodbye to Franz Tost this year, who'd been at the helm of AlphaTauri for some 351 races, and one of the most bizarre interviews that Martin Brundle did on the grid was certainly with Machine Gun Kelly. Another low point, and certainly one that was talked about, was the conflict of interest investigation into Toto and Susie Wolff. That had all teams united about none of them having had a whinge to the FIA. Quite a remarkable set of circumstances there. And earlier in the year we had the cancellation of the Imola race after some very heavy flooding around the track that left a lot of us not far away from arriving into the town, having to put all our plans on hold. Well, Formula One probably went backwards in terms of support this year because Max Verstappen was so strong. And I happen to know that a lot of the interest in the Netherlands has come off big time too because he was just winning everything, which is quite bizarre. But next year we hope for some turnaround in form from some of the lower teams and perhaps even some surprise results. They are always welcomed. And if you've enjoyed my content this year and you've subscribed on YouTube or you're following me on Instagram or TikTok, I certainly thank you with all my heart for being there along with me for the ride. It's been an incredible year. Next year will be 2 extra races, 24, starts in Bahrain, finishes in Abu Dhabi, and it's going to be grueling, especially those last 6 races in 7 weeks. But I'll be there, touch wood, to cover all of it for you. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't done so, and thank you to my members who this week, and I should have mentioned this, apart from having these books available for sale, and this is the 2023 Best of book, which actually comes with hard pages and hardcover, we've released some new posters, and all of my VIP members can download them absolutely free of charge. If you're not a VIP member, you can certainly go on and buy them either digital or print, and they'll be sent to you either via the internet or via courier. Hey, thanks for watching. Stay passionate.